The Battle of Titan marked a pivotal moment in humanity's war against the Vorthak. It was the largest counteroffensive Earth had launched since the start of the conflict, and it came at a time when morale desperately needed a boost. After months of relentless attacks, billions of lives lost, and entire colonies reduced to rubble, humanity clung to hope by the thinnest of threads. The operation, codenamed Operation Reckoning, aimed to strike at the heart of the Vorthak, presence in the outer solar system, a heavily fortified supply depot hidden beneath one of Saturn's moons. Success would cripple the enemy fleet stationed there and send a clear message. Humanity was no longer on the defensive. Ethan Carter's name echoed through briefing rooms as commanders prepared their troops for battle. Though presumed dead after the destruction of Horizon 7, his actions had become legend among pilots and soldiers alike. His final stand served as a reminder of what courage looked like, inspiring those about to face overwhelming odds. Pilots adorned their ships with patches bearing the phrase "Fear Earthborn," while ground forces etched it onto their armor. For many, these words weren't just a rallying cry, they were a promise to honor those who had fallen by refusing to give. Up leading the assault was Alex Monroe, now a seasoned squadron commander known for his daring tactics and unshakable determination. Flying alongside him were Kalith warriors led by Zenara, whose sleek vessels blended seamlessly with Earth's hybrid fighters. Together, they formed a united front, ready to take on the Vorthak stronghold. The mission required precision, timing, and unwavering bravery, qualities that defined both human and Kalith forces. As the fleet approached Titan, tension crackled through the air. Ships cloaked in advanced stealth technology slipped past Vorthak patrols undetected, guided by intelligence provided by the Kalith. Rachel Dawson, though miles away on Earth, played a crucial role in the operation. Her work adapting alien tech had equipped the fleet with weapons capable of penetrating Vorthak shields, giving them an edge in combat. As she monitored updates from her lab, her hands trembled, not from fear, but from anticipation. This was humanity's chance to prove itself once and for all. When the attack began, chaos erupted across the battlefield. Human and Kalith fighters descended upon the moon like a storm, unleashing torrents of bioenergy fire that shattered Vorthak defenses. Explosions lit up the icy surface of Titan, sending shockwaves rippling through its frozen plains. Ground teams followed close behind, breaching the depot's outer layers and engaging enemy forces inside. Each step forward came at a cost, but the combined might of humanity and the Kalith proved unstoppable. Inside the depot, resistance was fierce. Vorthak soldiers fought with mechanical precision, their movements cold and calculated. They wielded weapons far superior to anything humanity had seen before, forcing Earth's forces to rely on strategy and teamwork to survive. Alex found himself leading a squad deep into the facility, navigating narrow corridors lined with traps and automated turrets. Every corner turned revealed new dangers, testing not only their skills, but also their resolve. Despite the challenges, Alex drew strength from the people around him. Beside him stood Lieutenant Sarah Brooks, a rookie pilot who had risen quickly through the ranks thanks to her quick thinking and sharp instincts. Her voice crackled over the comms as she called out enemy positions, guiding her team through the maze-like structure. Behind them loomed Zenara, her alien frame radiating calm authority. Together, they pushed deeper into the depot, determined to complete their mission. Rachel's contributions became evident as the battle unfolded. Hybrid weapons adapted from Kalith designs tore through Vorthak armor, leaving their opponents stunned and vulnerable. Soldiers carried portable energy shields based on prototypes she had helped develop, providing critical protection during intense firefights. Even the cloaking devices used to infiltrate the depot bore her fingerprints, proof of her tireless dedication to the cause. Back on Earth, she watched live feeds of the operation, her heart pounding with every update. She knew lives depended on her work, and she refused to let anyone down. The turning point came when Alex's team reached the depot's central control room. There, they discovered the true extent of the Vorthak operation. Rows of storage units, filled with resources stripped from conquered worlds, along with advanced machinery designed to replicate alien technology. But what caught Alex's attention most was a massive holographic map displaying Vorthak activity across the galaxy. It showed supply lines, troop movements, and even potential weak points in their defenses. Capturing this information could change the course of the war. Securing the data wasn't easy. Vorthak reinforcements flooded the control room, pinning Alex's team down behind a makeshift barricade. Ammo ran low and injuries mounted, but surrender was never an option. With Zenara's guidance, they devised a plan to overload the depot's power core, creating a diversion that would allow them to escape with the intel. The decision was risky. It meant destroying the facility entirely, but it was the only way to ensure success. As the countdown began, Alex uploaded the data to a secure server, ensuring it would reach Earth regardless of what happened next. Then, with seconds to spare, he and his team made a break for the exit, dodging explosions and collapsing tunnels as the core destabilized. Outside, the rest of the fleet waited, engines roaring as they prepared to make their escape. When Alex emerged from the wreckage, battered but alive, cheers erupted across the comms. Against all odds, they had done it. Back on Earth, Rachel received the data moments later. Her eyes widened as she analyzed the contents, realizing the treasure trove of information at her fingertips. The map revealed vulnerabilities in the Vorthak Empire, exposing key targets that could bring the enemy to its knees. More importantly, it hinted at something greater, a connection between the Vorthak and the mysterious ancient civilization whose artifacts she had been studying. Could the Vorthak have stolen their technology? Were they using it to fuel their conquests? These questions burned in her mind, driving her to dig deeper. News of the victory spread quickly, igniting celebrations across Earth and its remaining colonies. For the first time in months, people allowed themselves to feel hope. The Battle of Titan proved that humanity could not only hold its ground but also strike decisive blows against the Vorthak. Casualties were high and losses weighed heavily on everyone involved, but the triumph overshadowed the pain, at least for now. General Marcus Hale addressed the public shortly after the battle, his voice steady and resolute. Today, we showed the galaxy what it means to be Earthborn, he declared. We showed them that we are more than survivors, we are fighters, and we will not stop until justice is served. His words resonated deeply, galvanizing humanity to push forward despite the challenges ahead. For Rachel, the victory brought mixed emotions. Pride swelled in her chest as she thought of Ethan, knowing how proud he would be of what humanity had achieved. Yet grief lingered, a constant reminder of the sacrifices made along the way. Still, she channeled her feelings into action, diving back into her research with renewed focus. If the Vorthak's power stemmed from stolen technology, then uncovering its origins could provide the key to ending the war once and for all. As humanity celebrated its hard-fought win, the galaxy took notice. Other civilizations, once dismissive of Earth's potential, now watched with cautious respect. The phrase "Fear Earthborn" carried weight beyond rhetoric. It represented a force to be reckoned with. The Vorthak, too, felt the sting of defeat. Their response would come soon enough, but for now, humanity basked in the glow of triumph. In the aftermath of the battle, bonds between humans and the Caliph grew stronger. Shared victories forged trust where skepticism once existed, proving that unity could overcome even the greatest threats. Together they prepared for the next phase of the war, knowing the fight was far from over. But for the first time, the galaxy saw humanity not as prey, but as predators. Fear Earthborn indeed. The alliance with the Caliph marked a turning point in humanity's struggle against the Vorthak. For the first time, Earth had allies who understood the enemy's weaknesses and shared a common goal: to end the Vorthak's reign of terror. But forming this partnership was only the beginning. Trust between humans and the Caliph didn't come easily. Both sides carried scars from their encounters with the Vorthak, and skepticism lingered beneath the surface. Rachel Dawson played a vital role in bridging the gap, using her expertise in alien biology to communicate with the Caliph and adapt their technology for human use. Zainara, the Caliph leader, proved to be both a fierce warrior and a compassionate ally. Her people had suffered under Vorthak rule for generations, forced into servitude and stripped of their freedom. When she spoke of her home world, a once thriving paradise now reduced to ruins, Rachel saw pain in her eyes that mirrored her own grief over Ethan's presumed death. This shared sorrow forged a bond between them, one rooted in mutual respect and determination. Together they worked tirelessly to combine human ingenuity with Kalith innovation, creating hybrid systems that gave humanity a fighting chance. One of their earliest breakthroughs involved adapting Kalith bioenergy weapons for use in human ships. These weapons operated on principles unlike anything Earth had ever seen, harnessing living organisms to generate destructive power. The process was complex, requiring precise calibration to ensure compatibility with human systems. Rachel spent countless hours in the lab, running simulations and testing prototypes. Despite setbacks and failures, she refused to give up. Each small success brought her closer to a solution, fueling her hope that humanity could turn the tide of the war. Meanwhile, General Marcus Hale focused on integrating Kalith tactics into Earth's military strategy. The Kalith were masters of guerrilla warfare, relying on speed, stealth, and precision to outmaneuver larger forces. Their approach contrasted sharply with humanity's traditional methods, which emphasized brute force and overwhelming firepower. At first, many soldiers struggled to adapt, finding the Kalith's methods unfamiliar and unpredictable. But as training progressed, they began to see the value in flexibility and adaptability. Pilots learned to fly in tight formations, mimicking the Kalith's fluid movements. Ground troops practiced ambush techniques designed to confuse and disorient the enemy. Ethan Carter's legacy continued to inspire those on the front lines. Stories of his bravery aboard Horizon 7 spread throughout the ranks, motivating soldiers to push beyond their limits. His final message, "Fear Earthborn," became a mantra repeated in barracks, cockpits, and command centers. It reminded everyone of what was at stake, not just survival, but the right to exist as equals among the stars. As preparations intensified, Earth launched its first joint operation with the Kalith. Dubbed Operation Shadow Strike, the mission aimed to disrupt a major Vorthak supply convoy traveling through a remote sector of space. Success would deal a significant blow to the enemy's logistics network, weakening their ability to sustain prolonged campaigns. The operation required perfect coordination between human and Kalith forces, making it a critical test of their newfound alliance. Leading the charge was Alex Monroe, the young pilot who had previously rescued stranded colonists from a besieged moon. Now promoted to squadron commander, Alex commanded a fleet of hybrid fighters equipped with Kalith bioenergy cannons. Flying alongside him were Zenara and her warriors, their sleek vessels blending seamlessly with the human ships. Together they formed a formidable force, capable of striking deep behind enemy lines. The mission began under the cover of darkness, with the fleet slipping undetected into Vorthak territory. Using cloaking technology provided by the Kalith, the ships remained invisible to enemy sensors until the last possible moment. As they approached the convoy, Alex felt a surge of adrenaline. This was the moment they had trained for, the chance to prove that humanity could stand toe-to-toe with the galaxy's most feared race. When the attack commenced, chaos erupted across the battlefield. Human and Kalith fighters swooped in simultaneously, unleashing devastating barrages of energy fire that tore through the Vorthak ship's shields. Caught off guard, the enemy scrambled to mount a defense, but their sluggish response only made them more vulnerable. Pilots shouted orders over comms, coordinating strikes with pinpoint accuracy. Explosions lit up the void of space as one Vorthak vessel after another succumbed to the relentless assault. For Rachel back on Earth, news of the operation's success brought a rare moment of relief. Though she wasn't directly involved in the fighting, she knew her work had contributed to the victory. Hybrid weapons and adapted technology had given humanity an edge they desperately needed. More importantly, the operation demonstrated that humans and Kalith could fight as one, united by a shared purpose. But the cost of victory was high. Several human pilots lost their lives during the battle, including some of Alex's closest friends. As he returned to base, his heart heavy with grief, he couldn't help but reflect on the sacrifices made along the way. Every life lost was a reminder of the stakes and the responsibility resting on their shoulders. Yet even in the face of loss, there was pride. They had struck a blow against the Vorthak, proving that Earthborn resilience could overcome even the most daunting odds. General Hale wasted no time capitalizing on the momentum gained from Operation Shadow Strike. He ordered increased patrols along key sectors of space, targeting Vorthak supply routes and communication hubs. Intelligence gathered from the Kalith revealed vulnerabilities in the enemy's infrastructure, allowing Earth to launch surgical strikes with maximum impact. Slowly but surely, the Vorthak's grip on the galaxy began to weaken. Back in the labs, Rachel continued to push the boundaries of what was possible. Her latest project involved reverse engineering a piece of Vorthak tech recovered during the raid on the supply convoy. Unlike previous artifacts, this device emitted strange energy signatures that defied conventional analysis. Rachel suspected it might hold clues to the Vorthak's ultimate objective, a mystery that had haunted her since the beginning of the war. Working late into the night, Rachel pored over data, running simulations and cross-referencing results. Her efforts paid off when she discovered something extraordinary. The device appeared to contain fragments of an ancient language, buried deep within its programming. It wasn't Vorthak or Kalith. It belonged to a civilization far older than either. Could it be connected to the ruins Rachel had studied earlier? She didn't know yet, but the implications were staggering. If humanity could unlock the secrets of this forgotten race, they might uncover tools powerful enough to turn the tide of the war. As days turned into weeks, the galaxy watched with growing unease as Earth emerged as a rising power. News of humanity's victories spread quickly, striking fear into other civilizations that had once dismissed them as insignificant. The phrase "fear Earthborn" took on new meaning, becoming a warning to any who dared underestimate humanity's potential. Even the Vorthak seemed shaken, their attacks growing more desperate and reckless. Yet despite these successes, challenges remained. Supplies were running low, and the strain of constant warfare weighed heavily on everyone involved. Soldiers grew. Weary civilians faced shortages, and tensions occasionally flared between human and Kalith forces. Maintaining unity required constant effort, but leaders like General Hale and Zainara worked tirelessly to keep morale high and resolve strong. Through it all, Rachel found solace in her work. Each discovery brought her closer to understanding the true nature of the conflict and perhaps finding a way to end it. She often thought of Ethan, wondering if he would be proud of how far humanity had come. Though the pain of his loss still lingered, she drew strength from his memory, channeling her grief into action. As humanity prepared for the next phase of the war, one thing became clear. The galaxy had underestimated Earth. What began as a desperate struggle for survival had evolved into a crusade for justice and equality. With allies like the Kalith by their side and innovations born from tragedy, humanity stood ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The Vorthak may have started this war, but Earthborn resilience would determine how it ended. In the days following the destruction of Horizon 7, Earth transformed into a planet united by purpose. The loss of the station and its crew weighed heavily on humanity, but their sacrifice became a rallying cry for billions. Across continents, people worked tirelessly to prepare for the next wave of Vorthak attacks. Factories operated around the clock, producing weapons, ships, and defensive systems based on both human ingenuity and captured alien technology. Streets once filled with fear now buzzed with determination. Posters bearing the phrase, "Fear, Earthborn" were plastered on walls, vehicles, and even uniforms, serving as a constant reminder of what humanity was capable of when pushed to its limits. Rachel Dawson threw herself into her work with renewed focus. Back on Earth, she joined a team of scientists tasked with analyzing every piece of Vorthak technology they could salvage. Her lab became a hub of activity, filled with engineers, physicists, and biologists working side by side. Each fragment of alien machinery held secrets that could mean the difference between survival and annihilation. Rachel's expertise in alien ecosystems proved invaluable, as many of the Vorthak's tools seemed to incorporate biological components, living organisms fused with machines in ways that defied conventional science. Despite the long hours and mounting pressure, Rachel found solace in her work. It kept her mind off Ethan. She hadn't heard from him since his final transmission aboard Horizon 7, and though she refused to believe he was gone, the uncertainty gnawed at her. At night, alone in her small apartment, she replayed his voice in her head. "Stay safe, don't let them take you." Those words had become her mantra, driving her forward even when exhaustion threatened to overwhelm her. General Marcus Hale, meanwhile, coordinated Earth's defense efforts with an iron will. A grizzled veteran of countless conflicts, Hale understood the importance of unity in the face of overwhelming odds. He traveled across the globe, visiting training camps and production facilities to ensure everything was running smoothly. His presence inspired confidence among soldiers and civilians alike. When he spoke, people listened, not because he demanded it, but because his words carried the weight of experience and conviction. Under Hale's leadership, Earth's military underwent rapid transformation. Volunteers poured in from all walks of life, eager to contribute however they could. Farmers, teachers, mechanics, all were trained to handle weapons and operate advanced machinery. Entire cities were converted into fortresses, equipped with anti-aircraft turrets, energy shields, and underground bunkers. Orbital stations like Horizon 7 were rebuilt, this time with stronger defenses and more firepower. Humanity was no longer content to merely survive. They were preparing to fight back. The Vorthak, however, gave them little time to rest. Just weeks after the attack on Horizon 7, reports began flooding in of raids on human colonies scattered throughout the solar system. The Vorthak fleet struck without warning, targeting mining outposts, research facilities, and supply depots. Billions died in the initial assaults, their screams silenced by the cold vacuum of space. Entire planets were left burning, reduced to ash and rubble. The message was clear: surrender or be destroyed, but humanity refused to yield. On Mars, where Rachel had narrowly escaped death during the first wave of attacks, survivors regrouped and fortified their position. Using scavenged materials and improvised weapons, they turned the red planet into a stronghold. Similar resistance movements sprang up across the solar system, each determined to hold their ground until reinforcements arrived. Stories of heroism spread quickly, fueling morale back on Earth. One particularly inspiring tale involved a group of miners who repelled a Vorthak boarding party using nothing but mining lasers and sheer grit. Ethan Carter's name became synonymous with defiance. Though presumed dead after the destruction of Horizon 7, his actions lived on in the hearts of those who heard his story. The phrase, "Fear Earthborn," originated from his final message, and it resonated deeply with everyone fighting for humanity's survival. Soldiers painted it on their helmets, pilots etched it onto their ships, and civilians whispered it under their breath whenever fear threatened to take hold. For many, it wasn't just a slogan. It was a promise to honor those who had fallen by refusing to give up. As Earth prepared for war, unexpected allies emerged from the shadows. During one raid on a distant asteroid colony, a group of humans encountered a strange vessel unlike anything they'd seen before. Its design was sleek and organic, blending seamlessly with the surrounding rock. When contact was made, the beings aboard identified themselves as the Kalith, a race long oppressed by the Vorthak. Their leader, Zainara, explained that they had been watching humanity's struggle and saw potential in their resilience. Unlike other civilizations conquered by the Vorthak, humans had chosen to fight back instead of submitting. Zainara offered an alliance, proposing to share intelligence and resources in exchange for assistance in overthrowing the Vorthak Empire. General Hale hesitated at first, wary of trusting an unknown species, but Rachel, who had studied alien biology extensively, recognized the sincerity in Zainara's eyes. After careful deliberation, Hale agreed to the partnership, knowing humanity couldn't win this war alone. The Kalith brought valuable assets to the table, Their ships were faster and more maneuverable than anything humanity had built, and their weapons utilized bioenergy that bypassed traditional shields. More importantly, they provided critical information about Vorthak tactics, vulnerabilities, and infrastructure. This knowledge allowed Earth's forces to plan more effective counterattacks, targeting key supply lines and command centers. Rachel played a crucial role in bridging the gap between humans and the Kalith. Using her understanding of alien ecosystems, she helped adapt Kalith technology for human use. She also worked closely with Zinara, forming a bond rooted in mutual respect and shared goals. Together, they developed hybrid systems that combined the best of both species' innovations. These advancements proved instrumental in leveling the playing field against the Vorthak. Ethan's legacy continued to inspire not only through his final stand, but also through the experimental weapons he had helped create. One such weapon, the plasma cannon prototype tested aboard Horizon 7, was mass-produced and distributed to frontline units. Pilots flying modified fighters equipped with these cannons reported unprecedented success in skirmishes with Vorthak drones. News of these victories boosted morale, proving that humanity's technological advancements could rival even the most advanced alien races. Amid the chaos, moments of hope began to shine through. In one instance, a young pilot named Alex Monroe led a daring mission to rescue stranded colonists from a besieged moon. Outnumbered and outgunned, Alex relied on quick thinking and teamwork to outmaneuver the Vorthak fleet. Against all odds, he succeeded, bringing hundreds of survivors safely back to Earth. His story became legendary, symbolizing the courage and resourcefulness that defined humanity's resistance. Back on Earth, communities rallied together to support the war effort. Families donated food and supplies to troops stationed at the front lines. Children wrote letters of encouragement to soldiers, expressing gratitude for their bravery. Artists painted murals depicting scenes of battle and triumph, turning streets into galleries of inspiration. Even in the darkest moments, humanity found ways to uplift itself, drawing strength from collective resolve. Yet challenges remained. The Vorthak showed no signs of relenting, launching increasingly brutal assaults on human strongholds. Casualties mounted, and resources dwindled. Some questioned whether Earth could truly withstand such relentless aggression. Doubts crept in, threatening to undermine the fragile unity that had been forged in the wake of tragedy. It was during one of these low points that General Hale delivered a speech that would go down in history. Standing before a crowd of weary soldiers and civilians, he spoke with quiet intensity. "We've lost much," he admitted. "Loved ones, homes, entire worlds. But we have not lost ourselves. We are still here, still standing, still fighting, and as long as we do that, we cannot be defeated." His words reignited the flame of determination within everyone who heard them. People returned to their tasks with renewed vigor, knowing that every bolt tightened, every line of code written, and every weapon fired brought humanity closer to victory. Slowly but surely, the tide began to turn. On the battlefield, Ethan's spirit seemed to guide those who followed in his footsteps. Pilots emulated his precision and bravery. Engineers adopted his innovative mindset, and soldiers embodied his unyielding resolve. Even Rachel, though consumed by grief, found comfort in knowing that Ethan's sacrifice had sparked a movement far greater than either of them could have imagined. As humanity stood on the brink of its greatest challenge yet, one truth became undeniable. The galaxy had underestimated Earth. They had dismissed humanity as weak, insignificant, and unworthy of notice. But now, through blood, sweat, and tears, Earth had proven otherwise. The phrase "Fear Earthborn" was no longer just a rallying cry, it was a declaration of intent. Whatever the future held, one thing was certain: humanity would face it head-on, ready to defend its place among the stars. The attack on Horizon 7 was only the beginning. As the station fought desperately to survive, Earth received the first official communication from their attackers. The message came not through the usual channels, but as a broadcast transmitted across every frequency, ensuring no one could ignore it. The voice that spoke was cold and mechanical, devoid of emotion yet carrying an unmistakable air of superiority. "We are the Vorthak," it declared. "Your resistance is futile. Surrender. Now and your destruction will be swift. Resist and your annihilation will be absolute." The name sent shivers down spines across Earth. The Vorthak were not unknown to humanity. Whispers of their existence had circulated among scientists and historians for years. They were a warrior race infamous for conquering weaker civilizations and stripping them of resources before moving on to their next target. Entire planets had been reduced to barren wastelands under their rule. Now, they had turned their gaze toward Earth. Panic erupted across the globe as news of the attack spread. Governments scrambled to respond. Military leaders convened emergency meetings, and civilians braced themselves for the worst. Rachel Dawson, still stationed on Mars with her research team, watched in horror as reports flooded in from Earth. Communication lines with Horizon 7 had gone silent, leaving everyone uncertain about the fate of those aboard. For hours, Rachel tried to establish contact, her hands trembling as she worked the controls. Finally, a faint signal broke through the static. A garbled transmission from Ethan. "Rachel, we're holding on." His voice crackled. "They're strong, but we've got a plan. Stay safe, don't let them take you." Before she could reply, the connection cut off. Tears welled up in Rachel's eyes as she replayed the message over and over, clinging to the hope that Ethan was still alive. Back on Horizon 7, the situation remained dire. Despite Ethan's earlier success in disrupting the drone's coordination, the Vorthak quickly adapted. Reinforcements arrived in the form of larger ships armed with devastating weapons capable of bypassing the prototype shield. Explosions rocked the station as hull breaches multiplied, forcing crew members to abandon entire sections. Oxygen levels plummeted, and the temperature dropped rapidly. Yet even in the face of overwhelming odds, Ethan refused to give up. He rallied the remaining crew, organizing them into small teams tasked with specific objectives. Some focused on repairing critical systems, while others prepared makeshift defenses using whatever materials they could scavenge. Ethan himself took charge of the station's last line of defense, a single heavy turret mounted on the outer hull. Strapping into the control seat, he guided the weapon with precision, targeting incoming enemies and blasting them out of the sky. Each shot brought a fleeting sense of satisfaction, but the reality of their predicament loomed large. They were running out of time. Meanwhile, the Vorthak wasted no opportunity to assert their dominance. A second transmission reached Earth, this time accompanied by visuals. The screen displayed a towering figure clad in black armor, its face obscured by a menacing helmet. Behind it stood rows of soldiers, each exuding an aura of power and discipline. "Your defiance amuses us," the leader growled, "but your species is weak. You cannot match our strength or our resolve." The word struck a nerve. Humanity had always prided itself on resilience, on its ability to overcome adversity, no matter how insurmountable the challenge. To be labeled as weak, to be dismissed so casually, was unbearable. Across the planet, people began to mobilize. Factories shifted production to manufacture weapons and supplies. Scientists pooled their knowledge to develop countermeasures against Vorthak technology. Even ordinary citizens stepped forward, volunteering for any role they could fill. The message was clear: humanity would not go quietly into the night. General Marcus Hale emerged as a central figure in coordinating humanity's response. A seasoned, military leader with decades of experience, Hale understood the gravity of the situation better than most. He called an emergency summit, bringing together representatives from every nation to discuss strategy. "This is not just about survival," he told them. "It's about proving to the galaxy and to ourselves that we are more than what they think we are. We are Earthborn, and we will fight." Hale's words resonated deeply, galvanizing nations to put aside differences and unite under a single banner. Civilian volunteers joined forces with professional soldiers, forming ragtag units determined to protect their homes. Among them were countless stories of bravery and sacrifice. Farmers traded plows for rifles, teachers became medics, and engineers worked around the clock to modify existing technology for combat use. It was a testament to humanity's ingenuity and determination. On Horizon 7, Ethan continued to hold the line. His actions inspired those around him, giving them the courage to keep fighting despite the odds. When a massive Vorthak cruiser descended upon the station, unleashing a barrage of fire, Ethan stayed calm. Working with the engineering team, he devised a risky plan to overload the station's reactor core and create a shockwave powerful enough to disable the enemy ship. It was a desperate move, one that would likely destroy the station along with the cruiser, but it was their only chance. As the countdown began, Ethan made a decision. He recorded a final message, addressing not just Rachel but all of humanity. To my wife, to my family, to everyone back home, don't mourn us. Remember us as fighters. Remember that we stood tall when the galaxy thought we'd fall. And remember this: fear Earthborn. With those words echoing in his mind, Ethan initiated the sequence. The station trembled violently as energy surged through its systems. Outside, the Vorthak cruiser hesitated, perhaps sensing the impending catastrophe. Then, with a deafening roar, the reactor exploded, sending a blinding wave of light and energy rippling outward. The cruiser was engulfed, its shields failing, and its hull cracking under the immense pressure. Debris scattered across space, marking the end of the battle. When the dust settled, silence reigned. Horizon 7 was gone, reduced to fragments drifting aimlessly in orbit. But amidst the wreckage, a glimmer of hope remained. The Vorthak fleet retreated, shaken by the unexpected ferocity of humanity's resistance. Word of the station's heroic stand spread quickly, igniting a fire within the hearts of billions. For the first time, the galaxy saw humanity not as prey, but as predators. Rachel, now safely evacuated from Mars thanks to a daring rescue mission, returned to Earth to find a world transformed. Streets once filled with fear now buzzed with purpose. People wore patches bearing the phrase "Fear Earthborn," a tribute to Ethan and the crew of Horizon 7. Though grief weighed heavily on her heart, Rachel channeled her pain into action. She joined a coalition of scientists tasked with reverse engineering captured Vorthak technology, determined to honor Ethan's legacy by turning their enemies' weapons against them. In the days that followed, humanity prepared for the inevitable next wave of attacks. Training camps sprang up worldwide, equipping volunteers with the skills needed to defend their planet. Factories churned out advanced weaponry based on designs inspired by both human innovation and alien tech. General Hale oversaw the construction of new orbital stations, each fortified to withstand future assaults. Slowly but surely, Earth began to resemble a fortress, ready to repel any invader foolish enough to underestimate its resolve. Yet even as preparations continued, questions lingered. Why had the Vorthak targeted Earth? What did they truly want? And perhaps most importantly, how far were they willing to go to achieve their goals? These uncertainties haunted Rachel as she worked tirelessly in the lab, piecing together fragments of Vorthak machinery. Every discovery brought new insights and new fears. The Vorthak were unlike anything humanity had faced before, and defeating them would require more than brute force. Still, there was no turning back. Humanity had tasted victory, however small, and it fueled their determination to keep fighting. The phrase, "Fear Earthborn," became more than just a slogan. It was a promise to stand firm, to adapt, and to triumph. Whatever challenges lay ahead, one thing was certain. The galaxy had learned to respect and fear the spirit of Earth. In a quiet corner of the galaxy, far from the bustling centers of advanced civilizations, Earth had always been seen as insignificant. To the rest of the universe, humanity was nothing more than a young and unremarkable species still struggling to understand its place in the cosmos. But on Earth, things were changing faster than anyone could have predicted. Hidden beneath layers of secrecy, scientists, engineers, and visionaries worked tirelessly to push the boundaries of what humanity could achieve. Among them was Ethan Carter, a man whose life revolved around his work at Project Gauntlet, a top-secret initiative focused on developing cutting-edge weapons and defense systems for space exploration. Ethan wasn't just any engineer. He was one of the brightest minds in his field. Day after day, he poured his energy into designing technology that could protect humanity when it finally stepped onto the galactic stage. His wife, Rachel Dawson, shared his passion for progress, but approached it from a different angle. A brilliant biologist with a deep love for alien ecosystems, Rachel spent her days studying organisms discovered during humanity's first tentative steps into interstellar travel. Together, they represented two sides of humanity's ambition: strength in knowledge, power and understanding. Their lives seemed ordinary enough, filled with long hours at work and quiet evenings at home discussing their dreams for the future. But everything changed one fateful night aboard Horizon 7, an orbital research station orbiting high above Earth. It was here that Ethan had been testing a prototype energy shield, a device designed to protect spacecraft and stations from hostile forces. The air hummed with anticipation as Ethan adjusted dials and monitored screens, his mind racing with possibilities. This was the culmination of years of effort, and if successful, it would mark a turning point for humanity's ability to defend itself. As midnight approached, something strange began to happen. The sensors picked up unusual readings outside the station, fluctuations in energy patterns that didn't match anything Ethan had encountered before. At first he thought it might be interference or a glitch in the system, but then alarms blared throughout the station, jolting him out of his focus. Red warning lights flashed across the control room, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Something or someone was out there. Before Ethan could fully process what was happening, the station shook violently. The impact sent equipment crashing to the floor, and sparks flew as circuits overloaded. Panic gripped the crew as they scrambled to figure out what was attacking them. Through the chaos, Ethan managed to stabilize himself against a console and pull up external cameras. What he saw chilled him to the bone. Swarms of sleek metallic drones surrounding the station like a cloud of locusts. Each drone emitted a faint blue glow, pulsating rhythmically as though alive. The attack came without warning. Lasers tore through the station's outer hull, breaching compartments and sending oxygen rushing into the vacuum of space. Emergency protocols kicked in, sealing off damaged sections to prevent further loss of life. But even with these measures, the situation was dire. The drones moved with precision, targeting vital systems and disabling defenses one by one. It was clear this wasn't random aggression. It was calculated and efficient. Ethan's heart pounded as he realized the gravity of the moment. This wasn't some rogue faction or pirates looking for easy plunder. Whoever or whatever was behind this knew exactly what they were doing. As the station continued to take hits, a message crackled over the communication system. It wasn't in English or any language Ethan recognized, but it carried an unmistakable tone of authority. Moments later, a translation program decoded the transmission. "You are weak. Surrender now, and your destruction will be swift." Ethan clenched his fists, anger bubbling beneath the surface. Humanity had faced countless challenges throughout its history, but surrender had never been an option. Not now, not ever. He glanced around the control room, where other members of the crew huddled together, fear etched on their faces. Some whispered prayers while others frantically tried to repair critical systems. Despite the terror gripping everyone, Ethan felt a spark of defiance ignite within him. If this was humanity's introduction to the wider galaxy, then they wouldn't go down quietly. Summoning every ounce of courage, Ethan turned his attention back to the prototype energy shield. It wasn't ready for full deployment, but it was their only hope. With trembling hands, he activated the system, directing all available power to reinforce the station's defenses. For several tense seconds, nothing happened. Then, a shimmering barrier flickered into existence around the station, deflecting incoming laser fire and buying precious time for the crew. The relief was short-lived. While the shield held for the moment, Ethan knew it wouldn't last forever. The drones adapted, quickly, adjusting their tactics to exploit weaknesses in the hastily deployed system. One particularly aggressive drone broke through the shield, slamming into the station's outer hull with enough force to send shockwaves rippling through the structure. Alarms screamed louder than ever, and the smell of burning metal filled the air. Despite the overwhelming odds, Ethan refused to give up. He barked orders to the remaining crew members, organizing them into teams to handle different tasks. Some worked to reinforce the shield generator, while others patched breaches in the hull. Ethan himself stayed glued to the main console, monitoring the enemy's movements and searching for any opportunity to turn the tide. It was during this frantic struggle that Ethan noticed something peculiar about the drones. They operated with incredible coordination, almost as if they were part of a single hive mind. But occasionally there were slight delays, a fraction of a second where their actions weren't perfectly synchronized. It was a small detail, but one that gave Ethan an idea. If he could disrupt their communication network, even briefly, it might create an opening to strike back. With no time to waste, Ethan rerouted auxiliary power to a secondary system he'd been experimenting with, a high-frequency pulse emitter designed to interfere with electronic signals. Activating it required bypassing several safety protocols, a risky move that could overload the station's already strained systems. But Ethan didn't hesitate. Taking a deep breath, he initiated the sequence. The effect was immediate. The drones faltered, their movements becoming erratic as the pulse disrupted their connection to whatever controlled them. Seizing the opportunity, Ethan launched a counterattack using the station's limited arsenal of defensive turrets. Explosions lit up the darkness as several drones were destroyed, their metallic bodies disintegrating into shards of debris. For the first time since the attack began, Ethan allowed himself a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they could survive this. But his optimism was tempered by the knowledge that this was only the beginning. Whoever, or whatever, had sent these drones clearly intended to make an example of Earth. And if humanity wanted to stand a chance, they would need to fight smarter, harder, and with everything they had. As the battle raged on, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that this moment marked the start of something much bigger. Whether it ended in triumph or tragedy, one thing was certain: the galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again.